discussion now that I need to get going with. Thank you very much, Governor Whittles. They're on the ground in Mthatha Stadium. As I said a little bit earlier, in case you're just joining us, I'm joined by Sitlukhane Manchidi, who's the head of CSI at Investec. I've got Nombulelo Nana Malinga, founder of ZZ Digital, and also joined by Khudirakhetsi Mukhajan, an entrepreneur and founder of Deliverika Speed in Hammanskraal. Thank you very much, gentlemen and lady, and may I say Happy Youth Day to you, and thank you very much for your time. Khudirakhetsi, I'm going to start with you. First, I'm going to say congratulations are in order. I see last night Deliverika Speed was an award winner in the inaugural Youth-Owned Brands of South Africa. How did that go?
Yes, thank you, Braden. Thank you for having us. I think for us, it's just validation. Hey, I think it just validates what we've been working on, the business that we've built, and it's just now the community, are responding, and that's why we were able to, be awarded as the top youth-owned brand in the services category. So yeah, it's really nice.
Congratulations. Entrepreneurship is one theme, one topic that the president touched on today in his Youth Day message. What else for you stood out?
Yeah, look, I mean, for us, I think, in terms of the government, there has to be quite a lot that needs to be done, not just, talk, but implementation, as you mentioned. I think as ourselves, as young people, in business, there's so many red tapes that we still face even today. That we believe, could make the environment much more conducive and for our businesses to scale even faster so that we can, employ more and more young people on our businesses that will ultimately, pay tax and ultimately, create, further income, for the government to improve the lives of the rest of the country.
Yeah, Nombulelo, let me bring you next. I mean, you know that starting a business is not easy. It requires capital. And as the founder of ZZ Digital, you've also started something, ZZ for Youth, where you assist young people in terms of some small capital to begin something of their own. That's promoting self-employment.
Exactly. I think that as a nation, we have all been made aware of the dire state of unemployment of youth. And, I live by the philosophy that if you can change just one life at a time, that can actually create a snowball effect. So that is where I then came up with the concept of ZZ for Youth, where as a business, we do look out to other youth and call them to actually tell us what it is that they could do with small startup capital so that we can assist them and see how best is it that we can motivate each other to empower that voice of entrepreneurship.
Yeah. When you began this journey, I'm just wondering what led you to, was it a particular gap you identified?
So I am someone who is quite passionate and career driven. But what I realized is that sometimes you may be coming from a point of privilege when you are expecting individuals to just start their own businesses. So that's when I started thinking to myself that, what, even though I myself am a small business, if there is just a little bit that I can do for the next person and they can actually do the same for the next person, I am then promoting a culture of creating the change that we are looking for.
Okay, and let me bring in Sitlukhane from Investec, head of CSI there. Sitlukhane, you say that, I've seen that you're saying that the young people are hunger in South Africa. They've got a hunger to learn. But what about entrepreneurship? I know it's not a silver bullet. It's not going to sort out all the problems, but it's something that's coming up now and again, even the president referring to the issue of supporting the financial enterprise of young people.
Yes, Dan, South African youth definitely have a hunger to learn, but also to survive and to see this in action. You've got to visit townships and villages where many youth are hustling and creating small operations, delivering much needed but paid for services and products in their townships and villages. Examples could, range from spaza shops to hair salons, car wash facilities, local braai areas. So they definitely are eager to learn. But not only just academically, to learn on the ground, And I guess this is exciting for me because it's dabbling in the township economy, as many would call it, really serves as a learning ground for many young people in that they are afforded opportunities to make mistakes, learn from, and ultimately grow their entrepreneurial confidence that could see them graduate not only from running township-based businesses, but to businesses such as the Batu, as founded by Theo Baloy, who started in a very similar way.
Yes. So it's in the hands, I guess, of young people to do stuff, to change their livelihoods going forward. You started Delivery Ka Speed during the pandemic. It must have been tough.
Yeah, absolutely. It was tough. But more than that, I think the pandemic actually helped us, in terms of educating the market. When we came in, the market was so comfortable with transacting online. So we had, less, resources for us to even educate them about food deliveries. And you would know in the townships, we are a bit behind on quite a lot of, developments. So when we came in during, the pandemic, the market already knew our service. And it was just a beautiful journey for us, if you look at our scaling. I mean, we're not even a year old, and our scaling numbers now, we're approaching our 7th, township in Vernaching, and we started in Pretoria. So I think somehow, the pandemic did really help us.
Yeah, sustainability is going to be a key. I mean, even the theme of this year's Youth Day celebration, the national theme that government has been promoting is around sustainable livelihood and resilience for young people for a better tomorrow. Nombulela, what are your thoughts about that? I mean, how do you implement programs? There's many programs that the president was talking about. We are aware of many others that are done by corporates, like Invested, for example. But what are your thoughts about sustaining it going forward to make sure that young people build resilience and for a better future?
Thank you for that. I think the key to sustenance lies in communication and very largely depends on an element of mentorship and guidance, because it is one thing to provide funds, but how do we then ensure that those funds are correctly spent and that those funds end up generating more revenue for those businesses? So something that I really do pride myself on is that we enjoy creating and harnessing relationships, forming groups of support, and ultimately taking the problem back into our hands and creating that South Africa that we want, creating the opportunities, creating a culture of support, sustenance, and entrepreneurship amongst the youth.
A culture of support. The president also referred to networks. There's a program that the government is starting, not just exposing young people to available capital, but networks. I guess there are other elements of success that young people might have to embrace. You've got thoughts around this, Sitlukhane, like issues of mentorship and coaching. How critical are they in assisting our young people, especially young entrepreneurs?
Then, exposure and mentorship opportunities that help aspiring entrepreneurs to see what a series of initial failures, coupled with perseverance, dedication, and hard work did for many who today we consider to be seasoned entrepreneurs. I can't help but think of our own former CEO, Stephen Kosef, an entrepreneur in his own right. When given any opportunity to engage with young people who are hungry for success, such as the two we've got on a panel this afternoon, I can only imagine him saying what he often would say to me in my younger days: it does not matter how difficult it may be, just put your head down and keep batting good. So that is very, very important to hear from people who've been in this space for much longer, who have failed a number of times, or who've picked themselves up. And secondly, we've got to understand that businesses are often started for individual survival purposes, are created with very little know-how in terms of what is required to run a successful business. So corporates, individuals should run programs in mentorship and coaching, such as the one that Investec supported Startup School does, aimed at better equipping entrepreneurs to build solid businesses and possibly even graduate from serving only the small townships that they may be serving, or villages, to serving the country and possibly the world in the future.
Yeah, have you got a coach? Have you got a mentor? I mean, who are you looking to for support when those days are hard and long?
Yes, so I unfortunately, I do have a bit of, support structure around me. And these are people who are entrepreneurs also in their own rights. And, they're able to guide me whenever, we have issues. And that has really helped me to really, realize that I'm not the only one, facing all these business challenges. And they're able to come in with practical, advice and, help us, to take us to the next stages. So it is very important that you should have someone closer to you that really knows the journey and really can guide you, in terms of helping you to know where to go. Because it is a lonely journey, and it's very important that you get the right people around you, a right circle around you, so that you can ultimately succeed. And I'm fortunate that I believe that I have the right, circle in my life.
Are you that fortunate, Nombulelo? I know you also won an award some years ago from Standard Bank.
Yes, we did. As a top gender-empowered company. It was actually just last year. I'm also
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. A COVID-born business. So I am fortunate enough to have my mother actually as my mentor. She has been in business all of her life. She owns multiple businesses, and it's always amazing to be able to have that close relationship, but then still have that mother who's able to lead and guide you in the right direction.
Yeah, and Sitlokhane, I just want to ask this question this way. Khudi just mentioned he started in a township in Pretoria, Hammanskraal, as an example, delivering speed. Now he's got 7 townships, including in the Vaal, that's in the south of Gauteng. So he's scaling up quite quickly. Now, for those wanting to scale their businesses but are afraid of rocking the boat after their initial success, what options are there?
And I think the corporate sector has really run and come to the party in running various incubation programs, running various training programs such as Startup School. There are just many options. You've got to look around and say what makes sense. We've got, for example, a program called Finance Readiness, which really gears you up for fundraising. To really make sure that you structure your businesses such that you can put it in front of investors and possible financiers who can then say, I think there's something here and there's an opportunity which will support the scale up. So my sense of it, there are a number of options around. There are incubations, there are training programs, there are various pieces, but quite right. I think the issue here is to take baby steps than to run, because what you've got to try and build is solid foundations, because businesses built on solid foundations are built to last, as opposed to those that are rushed through the process. So it's not a quick fix. It's not something that you put into the microwave and it heats up in the next 2-3 minutes, but it's something that you've got to work hard at.
Nombulelo, are you scaling up as well? Is Zizi Digital scaling up?
Definitely. I think one thing that has been quite important or well noted is that with COVID, we realized the importance of digitization. So with that need increasing, Zizi Digital is definitely expanding.
Yeah, are you getting support, or where are the bottlenecks for you?
The bottlenecks for me would then be barriers to some, I can't mention some of the clients that I have, just due to the nature of the business and perhaps government ties. However, what I can say is that the opportunity to network and infiltrate particular markets, being a young Black woman, is slightly decreased when I look at some of my competitors. So that's definitely a bit of a bottleneck for me.
So one would need help there, so you need to get the right mentorship. So how, in your view, I mean, just listening to the president earlier, I mean, 46 years ago, the struggle was was for better education, broadly speaking, okay, under that umbrella. But it catapulted the struggle against apartheid. It became a watershed moment in the history of the struggle for freedom in this country. So that was an issue then, and then the rest, as they say, is history. But today's, the main challenge for young people like yourselves is economic freedom, if I may use that broad umbrella as well, being able to get a better life for yourselves, getting opportunities, either work or getting opportunities of self-employment or creating jobs like you guys are doing doing with your new enterprises, Zizi Digital and Speediga Delivery. I'm talking about Khudira Khetsi and Nombulelo. Beyond now, going forward, what do you think? What are your thoughts? I want to start with you, Nombulelo. What are your thoughts about how do young South Africans move beyond? And what should the message be to the ones that the president referred to as popularly known as AMA 2000s, going beyond? They're the future of the country.
I have quite a lot to say about this, but I'll try to keep it brief. First of all, I think that for AMA 2000, as has been referred to, there is a very large landscape from a digital perspective, which actually makes the world so much smaller. There are social media platforms at our disposal. There is a digital world that exists that allows you to create the life and the profile that you want so that you are able to reach individuals that are across borders. Utilize digital platforms and present and package yourself in a way that you are ready for someone or a business to invest in. First point. Second point, make sure that you have the correct network of individuals around you so that in just the conversations that you have that spark ideas, you can take the small actionable steps, because it may not be about the massive steps that people do, which is what I believe in. It is just about creating small instances of change that have a knock-on effect and can change not only your life, but your brother or your sister's life.
Khudira Khetsi?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with what Nombulelo is saying. I think for us as the young people of today,
sorry, it's Nombulelo.
We need to realize Nombulelo. Sorry, Nombulelo.
Yeah, no worries.
Nombulelo. Sorry, man. So we are the future of today. We need to come together and collaborate and, take leadership, in all these positions that before the day, they were taken by much older people. We need to come in and create brands, businesses that, we consume on a daily basis. We are the majority. That's been proven. And we need to now come into business and own, these businesses that we consume, whether it's deliveries, whether it's groceries, whether it's transport and all these. It's up to us to start building these businesses while we're still young, while we still have the flexibility, so that, once we're older, when we don't have that flexibility, we do have, a bit of record and we can leave a legacy behind, for the youth of the next generation. Yeah.
Okay, Sihlokhane, how do we unlock? I mean, we got two entrepreneurs here, and they reflecting about the future here.
I think, Dan, it's funny enough you said this, the struggle was based in education, and I'm going to start there. I think we really need to support programs that stimulate entrepreneurial thinking and innovation among school-going children, so as to kickstart their entrepreneurial journeys much earlier on. The challenge in the South African context is that we educate people only to become job seekers as opposed to being job creators. And these two are an exception amongst many others, but that stifles their entrepreneurship appetite later in life. It's very necessary for all of us to really look at initiatives that challenge that kind of status quo. And then to really nurture that this hustling attitude and energy, the desire to solve day-to-day struggles and challenges and possibly make money while doing so, presents a platform for many to become active economic participants by looking for opportunities that may initially just keep them above the poverty line. But if all goes well, could do much more than just survival for them and others who they may employ and even do business with. And that's what we really got to inculcate.
Job creation mindset than job seeking mindset. And also we know that looking for employment nowadays is very expensive, right? From creating that much needed CV and the data that you need to upload it onto a website or email it or getting into some form of transport to go to a place of an interview. It's very, very hard. But not all of us, just to conclude, not all of us are wired in our DNAs to be entrepreneurs. Not all of us can get into business. Some of us would have to go the academic route and learn. Some of us will still have to work for Khudirakhetsi or work for Nombulelo. What would your advice be about how do you find that groove for yourself as a young person today to make sure that your future improves over time? Khudirakhetsi, you first, your parting words.
Sure. I think for any young person, I think you need to be comfortable with, what you want to do. You need to find something that really you enjoy. Whether it'll get difficult, it will be tough, it won't be easy. But at the end of the day, it needs to be something that you enjoy. And entrepreneurship is not an answer for everyone. But for me, it's one of the vehicles that, I've used, to create employment, for quite a lot of people. And for me, my purpose, what I've found is I want to have an impact. And business is the one way that I can use, to have impact in my community, in the people around me, and in other, places. So I think as a young person, you just need to realize what exactly, do you enjoy doing? What is it that fulfills you at the end of the day? And somehow it will make sense at a later stage, and it doesn't always have to be entrepreneurship.
Nombulelo?
I would simply say, know thyself. If you are able to sit down and reflect and look at what you are good at, where your passion lies, you can then be honest and collaborate with the correct people who can fill in whatever gaps may be existing and see how it is that you can generate revenue from that. So know yourself, sit down, take the time to introspect, reflect, and then once you have a firm understanding of where you are directed to within your life, you can then start building off of that. Because what I see is a lot of people want to just be an entrepreneur because they want to make a lot of money. But what you don't know is that you need to have the drive, the passion, the dedication to make sure that you can actually survive those tough months if you have those tough months. And you cannot go through that if you're just doing something for the sake of it. There needs to be something heartfelt behind what it is that you are doing.
The final word will come from Sitlukhane, but it's a question that I need you to answer. The president a short while ago said business needs to open up more opportunities for young people of South Africa going forward. As head of CSI at Investec, how do you respond to that?
I think it's right. I think it's right. We really have to support initiatives that are aimed at empowering youngsters. Of course, as you rightfully said, Dan, some are not entrepreneurs, and we have to support various support programs, educational programs, such as the ones that we have, ProMaths, that sees the provision of extra maths and science lessons, the provision of bursaries for people to go and study scarce skills qualifications, for people's support of career guidance, because many of them don't know what they want to do and study. So corporates have to play a critical role in making sure that they facilitate points of entry. And of course, to the extent to which corporates like ourselves can support initiatives such as the finance readiness that ensures that entrepreneurs are better placed to fundraise, or for that matter, startup school that ensures that youngsters are afforded the opportunity to really learn the basic tenets of businesses and are exposed to mentors and coaching that puts them on the right track. That's what we ought to do. We ought to facilitate opportunities that enable people to become active economic participants. But it is important to note that there's only so much that corporates can do. Much of it has to also be in the youth's hands. They've got to be hungry enough. They've got to be willing to sweat. They've got to be willing to go the extra mile, have a can-do attitude, because that's the only way. We can always expose them to various opportunities, but opportunities are there for the taking. And I hear people say, no, I lost this opportunity, I can often say, you don't lose opportunities. Opportunities are never lost. Opportunities are taken by people who are hungry enough for them. So it is important to say corporates ought to do what we ought to do, but people also have to show up, because that combination is a good recipe for success.
Thank you very much. Sitlukhane Mantshidi, head of CSI at Investec. And also, I would like to, as I thank the last two panelists, I want to salute them as well. That's Nombulelo Nana Malinga, founder of Zizi Digital, and Khudirakhetsi Mokgajane, entrepreneur and founder of Delivery Speed. These two founded their businesses during the pandemic. Thank you very much for your time and reflections this afternoon. We zoomed in on the whole issue of entrepreneurship as a way of empowering young people, those who can go into that, and creating jobs. It did come up as well in the speech by the president a little bit earlier on. It is not the only silver bullet, but it's one of the key ones that can unleash potential of our young people into the future.